Hey, it's Nikki. Before we start the show, I wanted to invite you to download a free resource that I put together for you as the listener. This is my gift to you. You can get it right now. It is the 17 buying signals. Now, I wrote a whole book about buying signals, and I wanted to put it into a really simple format that you can have at your fingertips or in front of you whenever you want to. So I took out the 17 buying signals from the book, put them on a simple PDF, also gave you the kind of what to do when you get a buying signal, and explain what a buying signal is. So that PDF is available for you as a listener to go and download right now by going to yoursalesmaven.com/17. That's yoursalesmaven.com/17 so that you can start acting on these buying signals and closing more business. All right, when you're ready, let's start the show.
Are you ready to boost your confidence when selling so you're able to close more deals? Nikki Roush will show you how to build a foundation of skills and a mindset that creates sales success without feeling pushy or salesy and without fear of rejection. She is a sales strategist and coach with more than 25 years of sales experience and is master certified in neuro-linguistic programming. This is a radically different approach to selling. It's a no sleaze, no slime, and no stress approach to building your business. This is Sales Maven. Here's Nikki.
Welcome, and thank you for listening to the Sales Maven Show. I'm your host, Nikki Roush. I'm your own personal sales maven, here to offer you tips, techniques, and strategies to master your sales conversations. Today's episode is a little different. This is the first in a series that I'm launching, and this is a series called Mastering Excellence. The concept of mastering excellence comes from my background in neuro-linguistic programming, where we believe that there is a structure to excellence. And when you can break down the structure, you can then implement that same structure into your own life and get massive results. So to launch this series, I am kicking this off with somebody I have great admiration for, somebody who I think demonstrates mastering excellence in many areas of his business and in his life. It's the brilliant and the one and only, one of my all-time favorite people to quote, Shane Sams of Flipped Lifestyle. Now, if you haven't heard of Shane, you're missing out. Shane and Jocelyn Sams, but I'm gonna tell you a little bit about him. Shane is the host of the Flipped Lifestyle podcast and the founder of flippedlifestyle.com. In 2012, Shane was a school teacher in Southeast Kentucky. After years of job losses and bad bosses, Shane found himself stressed, working too many hours, spending too little time with his family, and tired of working for others. And then a devastating situation with his son made him rethink his life and his family's future. After months of trial and error, Shane and his wife, Jocelyn, successfully launched an online business. They would go on to replace their income, quit their jobs, and make millions online. Today, Shane's mission is to help other families find the freedom his family has through online business. He helps other family-focused entrepreneurs each week on his podcast and inside the Flipped Lifestyle community. Shane Sams, welcome to the show, friend.
I am excited to be here, and I cannot think of any better person to kick off a series on excellence than the excellent Nikki Roush. I mean, you don't understand yourself here, girl. Yeah, this is you're the perfect person to do this, and I didn't know I was the first one up. I'm the first one at bat. So how about them apples? I'm good for it. Let's go.
Well, Shane and I have known each other for a few years. I started listening to your podcast. I know you know this story, but I started listening to your podcast many, many years ago. And I fangirled all over Jocelyn the very first time I met her. And at the end of the weekend, we were at a conference. And at the end of the weekend, she came up and said, I think Shane and I are going to have a live event. Will you come? And I was like, yes, I will be one of the first people to buy a ticket. And that's at your conference.
Were, of course. And you were.
Yeah.
Nikki's a woman of her word.
I am.
She was one of the first.
I am. And so when I showed up and met you for the very first time, I'm going to have to get this picture from you because your photographer caught a picture of me meeting you for the first time. And I always say, I look like a little kid meeting Santa Claus for the first time.
I can't tell you how much I love that picture though. Like that is the most hilarious. Like for that, he was over to my left and they were following us as we came in the room. And for him to take that picture, because I was looking over, there was two people standing there. I don't remember who was with you. I can't remember, but Blair. I was looking at them. I think it was Blair.
Yeah.
It was. And she was standing there. I was like, hey, Blair. And I was about to meet you. And oh, man, because I didn't see you do that when we met. So like when I saw that picture, I died laughing. I was like, what is going on here, man? But that's one of my absolute favorites. I'll send it to you for this podcast.
Okay, because I'll share it. It's so funny. Like the expression on my face, you can see is pure delight of meeting you for the first time. And I still feel this way today about you. And I've been coaching with you and Jocelyn for so many years, but just pure delight. So I'm super excited to have you and talk through some of these questions about mastering excellence.
I'll do my best. I'm a work in progress, trying to be a little more excellent every day. So I'll give I'll tell you anything I do observationally. I'm not sure if I got any of this codified anywhere, So.
Well, the thing about mastering excellence, a lot of people who are really exceptional at something, oftentimes it resides in your unconscious competence. And because it resides in your unconscious competence, you think everybody knows how to do it. You think, oh, well, it's so natural to who you are that oftentimes you don't have to spend as much time thinking about it. So the questions that I have pulled actually come from an NLP modeling project. And I want to kind of talk through these questions with you and just see if we can start to dig in to Shane Sam's brain and your process for how you master excellence.
It's dangerous, man.
I know.
Jocelyn might warn you on this. She might have a caution sign up says, road work ahead. Because but I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm ready. Open me up.
Okay. Nick. All right. So, and I'm going to pick a specific topic because I think it'll help. And the topic that I want to talk to you about is you have this ability to generate an idea and turn it around very quickly and immediately make money off of it and generate revenue from it. So I saw this in action a year and a half ago. And
something like that. It was right before the pandemic.
Yes.
So it was like February of 2020.
Exactly. So I coached with Shane and he sent me a picture of a whiteboard that you took that you had outlined this process. And I was like, this is amazing, Shane. Like you should turn this into a course. And like 2 days later, it was a course and you were selling it for $5,000. I think I was the first person who bought it. And then you went on and now I don't know how much money you've made on it, but I'm imagining it's a multi-six-figure course.
Yeah, it made the first month, within 2 weeks of you buying it, it made $70,000.
Yeah.
I was actually looking at it yesterday. And what I was doing was when I first started that idea, it wasn't really meant to be anything. It was just, I was kind of like taking a bird's eye view of what we were doing to just kind of look at our own sales process, our sales funnel for how we sell membership websites, basically. And I noticed there was things I would draw it and I'd be like, yeah, I'm never changing that. Like never changing that. And I was looking for new ideas, basically. I was exploring what we were doing to see if there was a new idea somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And as I kept drawing it from left to right on the dry erase board, I just kept realizing, I was like, never changing that. Might tweak that, but not changing it,
Yeah.
And when I saw it, I was like, dang, that funnel has produced like $5 million. Like it's produced a lot of money and it's all membership based. So that was the seed for, gosh, I bet people would want to know about this, but I was scared a little bit to ask people about it because I was like, is this too advanced for people? And will this bog them? Because people love building funnels. They're like, I'm a funnel builder. And they're like, I don't have a business, but I'm building a funnel, And I was kind of scared to unleash it onto people because I didn't want them to like get distracted from their actual next steps, But that's kind of where that came from. Yeah. I don't remember why I texted you about it.
You were giving me, there was a piece in it that you wanted me to implement into my own membership, right?
Yeah. That's
and
right.
So you sent me this picture and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. And okay, so I want to get into the questions, but I will say about this is you said to me, because I was like, you should turn this into a course. And you're like, okay, how much will you pay for it? And then you were like, will you pay $5,000 for it? And then I think you texted me later, or you Voxered me later and you're like, will you pay $10,000 for it? And I was like,
maybe $5.
And I was like, I'll pay $5 today. And you're like, done. And you sent me the link. And I was like, I paid $5. And then I was like, oh my gosh, I better figure out how I'm going to earn this money back in my business, which for me, it turned.
We did. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And we did. We made it back.
Yeah. I made $60,000 back with it with
that's a good investment.
Yeah,
Whenever
it's a great investment.
You know?
Actually, I probably made way more than that, but yeah.
And that's actually like the sign I look for. Like, we all have great ideas. I think everybody listening to this has a great idea that they're sitting on, and they know it's a good one, but like, until I can make someone vote with their wallet, it's not a good idea. It's just a plan at that point. That's why I always, when I have an idea like that, I always reach out to people to sign up for it, even not before I create the final product. I will make things so people can see something tangible. But man, I'm always like, okay, I've got an idea. Will you buy it? That's how I launched my newsletter, the paper newsletter. Yeah. I had not written one word of that paper newsletter. All I did was and I didn't even make a sales page for it. I made an offer page in Kajabi, a checkout form, and I just emailed it to the list because I was like, if someone I described it. Yes. And if they'll buy it, and we made like 10 grand that weekend when I launched that thing. Yeah. So you just got to get it out. Once I see money, I'm like, that's real. Yeah. People voted with their wallet. They're in. They're all in.
So as a listener, he just gave you a really big clue right here. If people will vote with their wallet, it's a good idea, right? You can make money off it. Okay. So here's my first.
And always ask for that vote before you go down the rabbit hole of creating the thing.
Which is the second thing right there, right? Ask somebody before you go down and spend a bunch of time and money trying to implement something that you don't even know if people will buy. So here's my first question. If I was to just step into Shane Sam's shoes for a day, okay? So I know this is a little weird, but imagine me stepping into your shoes. What would I have to do? What would I have to think, and how would I have to behave in order to think like you, to have this idea, get people to vote with their wallet, and then turn around and implement and make money off of something?
Let me think about my day. I think one thing that we have done for me in my business. So we've really went down this path in the last year or two of getting our team into perfect flow. Right. And I know some people don't have a team, but it's totally relevant because you can structure your day in blocks where you are your team. You're just changing hats in each block. Right. So you're in flow in a different space throughout the day. Right. And I'll talk about that here in a second. But like what we do is, we have one person who runs the trains. She's in charge of scheduling. Like no one, if it involves setting a date and time, she's responsible for it. And she tells everyone where to be and what to do, including me. I have totally let that go. Like I don't even know what I'm doing half the time when I wake up in the morning on my calendar that my team needs me to do because someone else schedules it. But what that does is that part of my brain never has to think about it. So that's free now, right? Other parts like community management, customer service, editing our podcast. Jocelyn does all the, systems and gears that we turn. And what that does is it lets me wake up. I wake up every morning before everybody else. And I have an unstructured hour where all I do is sit down with a notepad and I just write the most random junk on that notepad. Like you would not believe it. Like I'll be planning a workout for myself 1 minute. The next minute I'll be planning a speech. It's just total stream of consciousness. Mm-hmm. And what I'm usually doing that morning is figuring out how we're going to make money. Because that's my priorities in the business. My priority is to promote and sell. Right. Yeah. So I'm just constantly thinking like, what can I do today? Not some abstract, I'm going to come up with my home run idea. I'm just trying to figure out when I swing. I'm putting myself in my own batting order. And when am I going to swing at three? Am I batting third? I don't even know what the result's going to be, but that's how I come up with most of my ideas. So I would say like unstructured time is where I start. But the problem with unstructured time, and everyone's going to relate to this, you're still thinking about all these other things, right? So you have to create a mechanism to get the other things off your mind, at least for that time. So if I didn't have a team, here's what I would do. I would say, like, if I woke up and let's say I got up from 6 to 8, okay, I would call that unstructured thinking, no pressure time. Drinking coffee, sitting on my back porch. I'm not trying to live some miracle morning and do 15-minute workouts and yoga and all that. I'm just like, no, I have nothing scheduled here at all. Like it says blank. And then I would take a break between the next block of time, and that might be podcasting time. So I need transition. That's something I've learned over the years too. If you're by yourself, you've got to have transition. You can't just back-to-back stuff, guys. You can't go 8 o'clock, I'm doing this, 9 o'clock, I'm doing this. You need a half-hour break, right, in between all these blocks. Mm-hmm. But if you can take your hat off and think in a different way each block, even if you're by yourself, you can do this. But if you don't plan that space at the beginning of the day, the ideas get buried under the weight of your inbox and your to-do list. You can't be creative if you don't plan to have that space. So that's where I start.
I love that.
Every morning. And our entire team is built to let me do that because I'm the idea guy.
Yeah.
So I planned it from that way from the first hire we made, basically.
I love that. Okay. So that's another great clue that he just gave us as the listener here, that the fact that he has unstructured time where he allows for, and some way to get the ideas that are coming down onto paper. And then you're also looking at it of because again, one of your jobs is to make money in the business. So which of those things are you going to do that will make money?
Yeah, I get in trouble doing this too. That there's a dangerous place in this because you will have a great idea that's not the right time sometimes.
Yeah.
So it's good to have a filter, like a mastermind group or a partner, or your team is a great filter for this. Like we have a thing in our Google Drive. It's called Shane's Idea Bucket. And I am required to put some ideas in the bucket for later quarters and later places because they're too, I'm like, we'll do it now. And they're like, no. I was in a car yesterday driving to Lexington, Kentucky. Our daughter cheers up there. And we were driving there. And I had we've got this homeschool site that we're launching for homeschool parents in August, which is 3 months from us recording this. Mm-hmm. And I had this idea. I knew it was the perfect wording. I knew it was the perfect pitch. And I was confident I could get a bunch of people to sign up for it right now. And I was typing the Facebook post and I was making the offer in Kajabi. None of this product is created. None of it. It would have created so much work downstream for people in my business. But I was like, I could do it. I know it's going to make money right now. And Jocelyn was like, erase that message. Stop it. That is going in the idea bucket. And you are putting that in August. So you do have to have filters on the yes. end of that structured time, or you're going to go down rabbit holes that might make money, but it might also cause a lot of work.
That's a really good point. I love that. Okay. So you've got this idea that you are ready to implement, it's the right time. What are your goals when you're implementing this idea to generate money? What are the goals?
My first goal is always to validate the idea, and then I'll double down on it. So I always work backwards when I build any process. So I don't go and make a sales page for almost anything I'm trying to validate. I don't go and, I don't make an offer page or have a bunch of different kinds of it. I start in an order form and I write a 1-paragraph description with 3 bullets of benefits. And then I figure out the value and create some kind of price. And I always start at the end, right? Because if I can get someone, I think the ultimate validation is something where the offer is so clear, you don't have to sell it. I take that back. The problem that you solve is so clear that you don't have to sell it. So the people that will jump on it, like the early adopters, will go ahead and take it. So that's my goal whenever I have one of these ideas is I'll just make an order form. I sent a coaching order form out the other day. I changed some wording and the way my mastermind's positioned. But before I started looking at the sales page, I just made a new offer and in Kajabi, a new order form, paragraph, 3 bullets. That's how I do it. And I sent that out and we sold 3. So it's that's $15,000 email, mm-hmm. right?
Yeah.
But if I can sell it with the order form, then I know the problem is correct and it's validated. And if I can find one, I can find 101 or 1,001 people to do it. Yeah. So now I just have to go back and then build the sales page and then build all those things that they actually interact with first in real life. But I'm not going to make anything or build a sales page or it's text, an image, and that's all I'm sending to people. And if that will sell it, now we can sell it better on top of it. So starting with the most minimum viable form you can do.
Yeah.
Basically.
I love this. And I love what you just said here is that if you can clearly state what the problem is and how this is going to solve the problem, then you just need something really simple. You send it out to a few people. They say, yes, now it's validated. And now you go and do all the back end, the sales page and, maybe write a bunch of really great emails to promote it. And
everybody gets, we were talking about this earlier off air or on another podcast to be continued. Right? But it's like, hold on, let me get my train of thought back. You basically, when you send this out, everyone gets obsessed with like what people teach them, like objections, and you got to have your FAQs and don't forget your testimonials and everything else. But like, if the offer and the product is good enough, there should be someone out there that doesn't care. They just say, my back itches, sell me a back scratcher, right? Like, they don't have to be explained why it's made of mahogany or it's shipped here from the Amazon and scratches backs better than anything else, whatever. It reaches any part of your back. The other ones my opponents are all shorter, like they don't have to have any of that stuff. So if someone is just like, I will buy that right now, I think that's what you need. And, some people are like, yeah, but if you put all this work in, you might sell more up front. But like, I always have the long game in view too. I'm a fast implementer and I'm always moving, going, let's go, next thing as fast as possible. But my life is spent at the 50,000 foot view. I'm not trying to get rich quick. I'm trying to get rich forever. So like, I'm always looking at the long term, and I don't need to make $1 million on my launch. If I can just prove someone will buy it, I'll make $1 million eventually. So I'll just play that game. So I think that's another thing too. So many people sell from desperation.
Yeah.
And you just can't do that. You're either a salesperson or not. You're in your business or you're not. And like, if I'm in my business, I just have to prove something works once, and then I'll make it work over and over and be repeatable after I figure it out.
All right. So I just want to comment too that this is another one of my favorite quotes of yours, is that I'm not looking to get rich like overnight. Now I'm not going to say it right, but I don't, what did you say? Say it again. It's so good.
I don't want to get rich quick. Yeah. I want to get rich forever.
Forever.
I want to leave an inheritance to my children's children.
That's right.
So like once you take that mindset, there's no rush. I know bills might be due and things, but nobody's going to come and get you. Like, you just got to sit back and say, okay, make it work really good, and it'll work really often. And like, I just have to prove it can work good first. Yeah. So that's what you focus on.
Yeah. I love that. Okay. So how do you know that you've achieved your goal when you're implementing an idea that generates revenue? How do you know you've achieved it?
So there's two things. The first thing I actually look for is if someone asks me a question about it. So like, we have a saying in our business, I tell all my people this, because all of our team is customer facing. We believe that our team all serves the people, right? So our team is in our forums, our team is in our Facebook groups, our team is out there, right? Like they're characters in the story, right? And the first thing I teach them whenever they interact with anybody in our business is every single person that follows us is one question away from giving us money. Always, whether it's the first sale or the next membership's payment. If you can answer one question in a month for any member of your community, they're going to pay you next month because they got a result and they know they're going to have another question eventually. The same thing is true with a new offer. If someone writes back and goes, "What is this?" I'm like, "Aha, there's some breadcrumbs for Hansel and Gretel to come home with," right? Like, someone's interested, so there's interest there. But then, of course, the first sale, if I get one, I am obsessed with that concept of, if one person will buy it, nobody is unique. Nobody is solo. Nobody is the only person that has that problem. That's just not true. There's 7 billion of us running around this planet. If I can find one, there's other people that have that problem. Now the game changes of, well, the offer converted. There's logically more of those people. Now it's just find those people and tell them about the product. So like that's what I look for. The first thing, if I get a question, I will dog on the bone. I'm going to start shaking it. I'm going like, okay, I might have to email it 2 or 3 more times to get the first sale. I might have to do what doesn't scale and write that person back. Heaven forbid, right? Like, talk to them. Yep. Come on, people,
Yeah.
But those are the 2 big things I look for. If someone asks me a question, I know I'm onto something. And if someone buys something, it's over. We just have to figure out how to find more people. That doesn't mean it will happen though. I mean, I've had offers convert and I couldn't find the rest of the people. So that's a whole different problem you got to solve after that, right? Like, finding audience, getting them to raise their hand, and then getting them to take action. But you cannot do those things until you have proven someone wants it, which is where the questions come in, and proven they will actually buy it. That's all that matters in your ideas. Don't fall in love with your ideas, right?
Yeah.
Fall in love with the proof of your ideas. Like scientists come up with all these ideas of how the universe works, but until they can show it in an equation and prove it, it doesn't matter. And the only equation that we ever have in business is product plus customer equals money.
Yes.
That's it. That's all you got. So go for that. And once it's proven, you'll be all right.
Okay. So you've got a question, you've got your first sale. What do you do next?
That's when we go and we actually we flesh out the product. We flesh out the minimum viable product at that point. That's the very next thing I do. So if I think of all my products categorically. So like, I know there are 7 like phases to building a membership site, right? Mm-hmm. There's phase 1 is the planning phase, where you have to take control of your time and set your goals. We know that. If you don't have a why and you don't have control of your time, you're not going to do it. Okay. Phase 2 is idea. Phase 3 is build a product. Phase 4 is the membership model, where you put in your membership. Phase 5 is you build your assets, your product, your website, your logos. Phase 6, you get into marketing. Phase 7 is advanced marketing, right? So we know how that flows. So any product can be broken down categorically like that, which means all I have to do initially is make the categorical trainings, right? So if I know that idea, finding your idea for a membership site is a place they have to start, then I can go and say, hey, well, here's how you find your idea. And we have a process to do that. Mm-hmm. It's 30 minutes, but that's the only thing I put in that category. That category now has grown into like 4 master classes with cut up questions that people have asked under each one. It's a much more robust thing now. But I always start with a categorical product, because I can validate an idea with almost nothing, but I can't really take it to market with nothing. Like I have to have enough of a product to where people will ask me the next questions for the steps I've left out. So that's what I try to build up front. And I have rules for that, like 3 to 7 videos, 20 minutes to 30 minutes each is my rules. Some things can be launched with 3 videos, like my newsletter, because the product comes every month. I have to create it every month. So I just needed 3 trainings to stick in there to make sure people had something to do when they bought, right? Until they got their next issue of the newsletter. But something like the Flipped Lifestyle Blueprint needed those 7 categorical things, right? If I was going to do, when I launched my U.S. history site, I didn't want to create an entire curriculum at once. So what I did was, there's like 13 units in American history. Okay. And that's a site where I sell lesson plans to schools, history teachers. Right. So what I did was I went and made the first lesson for each unit, because I figured that way, at least no matter where they were on their schedule when they bought, until I got the rest of it fleshed out, they'd have something in that unit that they could use. So that's what we're talking about, is like build the categorical minimum viable product. Now take it to market with a sales page, get a bunch more people in there and let them get mad and quit and tell you why they're quitting so you can fix it, and get to ask you for something that you didn't even think to put in there. Like let them kind of tell you what else to build out. You know, if you'll notice though, I do not do what everybody else says to do. I do not like survey my audience and all that stuff. You know, your patients know they have a headache. You know, they've got a brain tumor because you're the doctor. So my job is to figure out what the people actually need, present that to them, and then their feedback will grow the thing into what it needs to be. Like the Model T turned into the, Tesla Model X eventually, 100 years later, right? Henry Ford invented the car, and now Elon Musk is perfecting it. So it's a process. Don't get caught up with surveying your audience, and, especially people that don't pay you. I don't ever survey people that don't give me money, because they don't get a vote.
I love that too. I know that about you. I think it's super smart, is that because people are always like, oh, I'm going to ask all my, friends and family what they think about this. I'm like, only ask them if they would ever pay you money for it. Otherwise, it doesn't matter what they think. The best advice I ever got,
someone told me when we sold a business for $1 million, and it was like, I was like, what do I do with this? And a buddy of mine goes, well, I've never sold a business for $1 million, so you shouldn't be asking me. You should never take advice on how to spend $1 million unless someone else has gotten it and can tell you what they did wrong. Right. And it's the same thing with like customers and opinions, and they don't know. They don't even know what they need. If they knew, they wouldn't have the problem. Like they just don't understand it. Yeah. And so you got it. And people will be like, well, I don't have an audience. Well, I don't have customers. Who am I going to ask? Success leaves clues. Look at what someone is doing who is already making money. right? Go type in your idea in a Google bar, click on an ad because people spend money who make money, and then see what they sell. And then you sell that your way. Like that's your survey.
That's right.
Like find things that have already made money. Don't ask people who are broke how to get out of debt. Right. I mean, it's like, don't do that. Yeah.
Okay. So good. I feel like you've dropped so many great nuggets here. All right. So here is my next question. And you might have answered this, but I'm going to ask it anyway, just in case, is how do you know that it's time to pay attention to implementing this idea that you have that's going to generate revenue? Because you talked about like you had this great idea yesterday, and Jocelyn was like, delete. So how do you know it's time to pay attention?
This is kind of like really what you're asking is how do you know it's time to jump, like go all in, like push the chips in, let's do this, like go crazy. Filters are important. You got to have wisdom and feedback from other people. Like if you think you can figure it out on your own, you're crazy. Like you've got to have trusted advisors of some kind. If you don't, that's why we're so focused on building community, because I don't have all the answers. You don't have all the answers, but together we could probably figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
So definitely have filters in place where people can, look at it, that you trust and their advice is sound. I'll tell you probably as I think about it, because we have a situation where this is kind of happening where we went all in on something. When I feel overwhelmed, like something feels overwhelming, but exciting, not overwhelming, but crushing. But when I'm like overwhelmed and like, when I'm like, holy moly, this might work, that's when we drop other things and go all in on something. Like we had a company reach out to us during the pandemic, and they were like, look, we heard about you and Flip Lifestyle, and we're looking for something for live event workshops. We create large stadium events. We sell them into workshops, and we sell packages, like high ticket packages, like real estate, stock markets. Well, I wanted something different, and someone introduced me to your brand, and he's like, you guys are it. He's like, you're exactly what we're looking for. Nothing like this has ever been sold in this way. And he's like, your message is for everybody. And it's just going to be, I think it'll go over like gangbusters. And at first I was skeptical. One, I was like, okay, do I really want to go on the road and speak? Because I mean, we podcast and stuff at home, Two, this was in the middle of a global pandemic. There were no live events. Why is this dude starting a live event company in the middle of a global pandemic? Right. And I'm like, okay. So we flew down to Florida and we looked at it, and I was like, okay, there's some there, And then, so I signed up with, we were going to talk about it more over the next 6 months. We started meeting, we go to this live event, we go to an event where they had all their partners and all their people. And I was totally overwhelmed. I was in shock how amazing the people were in the room. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. Like this is something over. And I was so, Angela, my assistant, was there. Jocelyn was there. We were talking about it, and we're like, are we even able to do this? Like with our team that we've got built right now. And I got overwhelmed. Angela said it was the first time she'd ever seen me nervous. Like I was sitting there going, what is going on? Like I was kind of intimidated by the moment almost, but it was a good intimidation. It was a good overwhelm. And I felt that before a few times. So that's what I look for, is a little bit of overwhelm, a little bit out of my comfort zone, and that little bit of like giddiness, like, oh man, this is crazy. What are we doing? Not like, oh my God, what are we doing? No, like that's the wrong side, right? Yeah. That's the crying. That's the sign to stop doing it. Like, why did I do that? You're crying. But like when I feel that overwhelm excitement, like that's when I'm like, and we cut a bunch of things out of our business. Like we're about to shut down some things to go all in on this opportunity because it worked once, it'll work again. Let's go see if it'll work bigger. So I guess overwhelm. I like overwhelmed. I think it's probably more positive than we give it credit for.
I think that's a good one. I feel like it makes me think about in February, how we started this conversation, that you came up with this thing. I paid you a bunch of money to be a part of it. And then I kind of freaked out, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got to sell something to make this up. And it turned out to be this huge sale. But really what I sold was like, I can't remember now, but it was like 125 or 150 strategy sessions that I had to deliver within a year. And I was like, right. Oh my gosh, can I even do that? Now it
worked too good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's what you're looking for. Like that worked too good. And like that's the side is when it's overwhelming because it worked too good.
It's a good one.
That worked really well.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. So here's my last question about mastering excellence in this context. How do you know when to stop? How do you know when to stop what you're doing and then go do something else?
How do I make that call? I think there's a couple things for us individually. If something becomes a problem where I can't say yes to my kids, I usually stop it. Like if something is becoming too overwhelming where, because I started my business. I started my business because my son needed me one morning and my boss told me that I needed to handle my personal problems after work and that, I'd be in trouble if I left work that day, and I was like, no, that's not right. Like so if something outside of my own choosing chooses to prioritize them over my kids, I'm usually going to stop doing that. And that can happen really fast. Like that's one of the things about this live event thing. We knew that we were going to have to go on the road. Like I'm on the road in August, 15 days, right?
That's a lot.
So that's going to, it's a lot. But what we're doing is we're building a sales team. There is a light at the end of the tunnel, like in January, where we know we'll have 2 teams built and they will take over. So it's not a permanent, I have to do it. It's we have a plan. There's an exit strategy. We've communicated with our children. We've communicated with grandparents. We've communicated with everybody to get their feedback. Like I asked my kids, do you want me to do, is it okay if I do this? And if they had said no, I wouldn't have done it, like period. So that's my first filter. If something needs to be stopped is this is overwhelming. This is killing us. This is not why we're here, I'm kind of stubborn. I don't really just stop because things fail. I kind of have a 6-month rule. Like that's kind of in the back of my brain always. Like if I'm going to beat my head against something, I'm doing it. Like if I do or do not, I do not try. Like I'm going to do this. I don't try this. I do this. Like this is our thing. We're going in this for the next 6 months and we are going to make it work or we're going to fail in a blaze of glory. So that's kind of a arbitrary timeline, but I've pushed past that before. If I think there's some there.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think looking back at our journey is we always stop something when there's a new opportunity that arises that's better. Like we've put ourselves in the right place to be in the right place at the right time. Something falls in place. Like we sold elementarylibrarian.com, which was our first website selling lesson plans to schools, which was $1 million business. I mean, that was it made tens of thousands of dollars every single month.
Yeah.
But we sold that because through circumstance, we had helped one of our friends quit their job. And then some other people said, man, you all have got a great story. And when we started helping other people quit their job and like Flipped Lifestyle emerged from this organic process, we launched it. 120 people joined like the first day. So we were like, there's something, this is crazy. And we realized that the opportunity here was way bigger than anything we could do in the education space. Just from income, impact, influence, everything. Right.
Yeah.
So like that emerged. It was a better opportunity. Last year we started doing Dream 100 marketing. I stopped running I stopped trying to buy my way in all the time. And I started working my way in through networking. So I stopped joining high-level masterminds and all this stuff. I launched a podcast to network with people. I reached out to people. I helped people launch their products and do affiliates and stuff like that. That's what led to this live event deal, right? So that opportunity was so big. It was like, oh, we need to look at everything we're doing. Maybe we need to podcast a little less. Maybe we need to do a little less over here with this education stuff. Maybe we need to go this way, right? So I'm not always looking for a better opportunity. I like to ride the wave that I'm on, but that's usually, if I'm looking back honestly in our journey, that's when we've pivoted or said no to something. I hate saying this, but like Jocelyn and I have not had too many miserable failures, right? Look, we have been conservative enough to not fall flat on our face. I mean, I've definitely bumped into some walls, but I've not had one of those moments yet where it's like, this is just going to crash and burn and you've really went down the wrong rabbit hole. But I think going back, it's because the beginning of our processes are so strong. Like test the idea, make sure it works, then go down that rabbit hole. It gives you more runway to screw up less, So ours have always been better opportunities. That's when we go. And maybe if if this opportunity just isn't panning out, then the better opportunity is to try something different.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if that made any sense.
It does to me. So when I hear this, I guess here's my next kind of follow-up question to this. And now I feel like I'm going to ask you a very leading question. So I'm trying to think of how to rephrase this, what I'm thinking.
It's a trap. Bait. Here comes the bait.
Yeah, here's the bait. The idea, though, is you have an idea, you go and you implement it. And like you said, you ride that wave. But don't you think that the better opportunity only comes along because you took action on the first thing? Like if you had, like that. So that's kind of my thing of like, the only way your next better opportunity is going to come is by you doing something.
I mean, what's Einstein? There's a quote by Einstein that says, nothing happens until something moves. Like it's just nothing happens. Like, and I think an unfair advantage I have here is I was a football coach for 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I coached in college. I was a head coach. I called plays on Friday nights for 7 years as a defensive coordinator. And like football coaching is a weird job because like the preparation, like I probably prepared 30 to 40 hours for every game outside of practice. Like you watch film, you chart every movement. Like I would know on any one play, like what yard line they were on. Did they go right or left? Did they run toward more people or run toward less people? Did they go to the wide side of the field, the narrow side of the field? Was it a pass? Was it a run? What kind of run? What kind of like we would chart all of these things. But no matter how much I planned, no matter how confident I was in what I was calling on Friday night, you never knew if that thing was going to work until you called the play and let it happen. Like you might have the best idea to stop something, but you just don't know until you say, all right, run the play. And then you see, and then you know if it worked in that instance or not. You know what I mean? And I think that that's kind of a lot. Like you just have to call the play. When it's 3rd and 10 and there's 30 seconds to call the play, you have no choice. So I got thousands of reps of having no choice but to call a play and see if it worked. Right. So I think that that's kind of maybe where this mentality comes from a little bit is, God, we can mastermind. We can sit around mastermind all day. You want to draw? I can make a sales funnel work on a dry erase board every time. Right. You want $2 a lead? We'll get you $2 a lead. Here's what we're going to do it. Dun, 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 dun. You draw all the pictures, right? But like, it doesn't, until you put it into action, it doesn't work, It's like why I say to everybody, be consistent, be prolific, be relentless. And like, all of those are doing things. It's not have good ideas and talk them out. No, it's do things consistently, do things prolifically, do things relentlessly, and whichever ones work, do more of them. Whichever ones don't work, do less of them.
Yeah.
And just do the things.
Well, I think what you just described too is another huge golden nugget. So I think you realize this, but the way you've just framed it is that you call the play. Like you can have a bunch of prep and you can think about it a lot, but you've got to call the play. And by calling the play is kind of what I think how you described at the very beginning here of the way you've mastered excellence of having an idea, putting it in place and generating revenue. You have an idea, you test it, which is, I think, calling the play, right? You test it, you see if somebody will ask you a question or pay you money. And then if that play works, you probably run it again and again and again. Maybe I don't know. I'm not a football coach, but
and then if it breaks down, like my best defensive coordinator. I know this is the football thing, but I'll keep it where everybody can understand it because I'm not going to get into it. But like there was a player at this high school who was the best player in the state of Kentucky. He went to Alabama and was a running back. Okay, and he was running for like. He just made kids look dumb. It was ridiculous. It was embarrassing playing against him, basically. So I had this idea that was bonkers. My head coach literally almost fired me because I was fighting so hard for this. And I was like, trust me, I think this will work. So we took all of our defensive players off the field, and when we picked the 11 fastest guys we had, not by position, we just like, these dudes are fast enough to catch him, maybe, right? And I only put. Normally in defense, you put if it has a strong runner, you put more people on the line of scrimmage. I put 2 guys on the line of scrimmage, and I created 2 umbrellas of 5 and 4 people. And I'm like, this dude's going to get 10 yards of carry, but he's not going to score. He's just we're gonna make him take as long as possible to score. We cannot stop him. but we're going to make it. And the whole coaching staff, except one guy, was backing me up. Like, I think this will work. But we didn't know it would work. And there was no way to test it because you don't have a person that fast on your team to test it.
Yeah.
Right. So we literally, on the first play of the game, I called this defense, and it looked so dumb on the field. Like, I looked out there and went, what are we doing? We literally had people in the stands are laughing and like, what are they doing? And it confused that kid so much. It was the lowest yardage of his career. We still lost barely in that game. He still ended up scoring a couple times, but it was the lowest yardage of his high school career. But I'm telling you, I guarantee you that defense had never been tried anywhere in the world. And like with the way we did it, but we just had to try it because we had no other alternative. Now I never used it again against anybody else because it kind of served its purpose and went away. Yeah. Right. Like, but I mean, but until I will never forget. I was sitting there with a bag of Reese's Pieces and a Mountain Dew, and I was just shooting sugar on both sides going, what am I doing? I'm going to get fired. This is embarrassing. People are going to have this on film forever. And, but it worked, you know, and if it hadn't worked, I don't know what we would have done, but you just got to try stuff. If you have a good idea, that's the only way you'll know for real. Yeah.
I love it. All right. Thank you so much. All right. So as we wrap up, I do have a few, what I call the lagniappe section. So if you haven't heard that term before, it's a French term and it means a little something extra. I was like a little something extra. So this is some questions for Shane that are more to get to know him a little bit more. So here's my first question for you is who inspires you?
You, dude, of course. Come on, Nikki Rouse. Like, no, I say that jokingly, but also true. Like, what inspires us is our people in our community. I mean, that's who inspires us. I mean, there's experts and people like that, but when I see people like launch their podcast or like get out of debt or get like their first like 40 members. I talked to a guy yesterday and he had been trying for years. He comes into the community 2 months later, he opens up and gets 40 members, and like that really is what inspires us. Like our team, in our core values, we take parental pride in our people. Like it's like when I see my daughter do a new flip at cheerleading or my son learn a new move at jiu-jitsu. Like, I mean, I cry on a daily basis, like just to do that. And that's what keeps us going is every day, somebody who has a success. I don't even care how small it is, but, so I hope that doesn't sound too cliche, but it's true. I mean, you guys are who inspire us to keep going. So, yeah. And also any entrepreneur or salesperson, who stays married and faithful and good through their whole career. Like I love those kind of people who maintain their family through success. Cause that's our goal, is not let the world beat us into submission.
Yeah.
In that area of our life. So those are the entrepreneurs people like Aaron Walker, Dan Miller, people like that.
I love that answer. Whew, you kind of gave me chills on that one. All right. How do you celebrate your wins?
Man, you're going to not like this answer. By going to the next idea. I'm like, that won't work. Let's do another one. Jocelyn, like, we do weird things all the time. Jocelyn gets mad at us because she's kind of like this too. It's like we get a big win and we're like, sweet, let's see if we can do it with something else, So like we kind of like I don't think we celebrate them enough. Because we're always like, I think the thrill of the doing of the thing is the win for me a little bit.
It's the journey, right?
And it's like when I paid off my house. I was 38 years old. I'd made enough money in 2 years to pay off my house, right? And I was like, all right, we did it. We're going to walk in the bank. There's going to be confetti falling from the ceiling. Fireworks are going to go off. Everyone's going to give us a standing ovation. And I pushed the check over and she gave me a receipt and went, next. Word for word. Oh. And I was like, really? That's it? Like you pay off your house in your 30s and that's what are you talking about? And but I think I learned from that, like, God, it was so fun just getting there,
Yeah.
So like, it's all right. I don't need the thing. Now, Jocelyn, on the other hand, like her success is definitely going to Mexico. So that's how Jocelyn wants to celebrate all of our wins, is an all-inclusive for a week. So I'll bend back toward Cancun. That's what I'll say is our
okay. Which I think you guys do. I feel like you do that maybe once a year. Is that kind of the?
We try to take a trip with just us, and we try to take the kids somewhere overseas. So, and of course last year that got disrupted, but we did go in December to Mexico.
Yeah.
So, at least once a year we're going to Mexico.
Okay. Just a couple more questions. What is one thing people would be surprised to learn about you?
Oh man. What is one thing that people would be okay? I'll give you two things because I'm going to over deliver. Okay?
I love it. See, I'm super excited.
You know what I'm saying? All right. So one thing is that I am the biggest. My favorite sport is cheerleading. Like I know I was a football coach. I know it was a career, and I know everybody's like, is that even a sport? No, let me tell you something. Those little girls are, and not just cheerleading. I like youth cheerleading. Like the age from 10 to 16 is the most competitive, elite. I mean, they make mistakes, so they gotta. You never know what's gonna happen. It is by far the most exciting, fun sport. If you gave me a ticket to the University of Kentucky winning in the national title game, which is my favorite football team and basketball team. Okay. If you gave me a choice between a ticket to that or my daughter's team at Summit, which is the Disney World Championships at Disney, I'll catch the game on TV. I'm going to cheerleading. Like I'm going to watch that. So that's one thing that people probably don't know about me.
That's a good one.
The other thing is I was man, I'm a kind of a chameleon the way I can hang out with different groups of people. But my favorite people in high school to hang out with were just nerds. Like my nerd friends are my best friends because like I used to go play Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering. And I just loved the camaraderie in that those people love each other exactly for who they are. And all of my other peer groups growing up, whether it was sports or jocks or popular, whatever, like I always felt there was some layer of veneer over the way they acted. To maintain status. But man, that group of people in my life just loved each other for who they were because they had common interests, comic books and stuff, right? And to this day, I am just a nerd. I am just a total nerd. Like I play video games with my son. That's who I was. And I come off as really loud and I'm a big guy. So, I think people don't know that about me, but man, if I can roll some dice and hang out with my nerd buddies playing some Nintendo 64 or something, I'm good to go. I'm a nerd at heart.
Those were great answers. Thank you so much. That was super fun. All right. What's something exciting going on in your business right now?
Oh, the live event stuff is by far. I mean, I think this is gonna, our goal has always been can we get in front of enough people to help 100,000 people change their life? That's the only question that we have, and I really think God's opened doors that I never even imagined over the last couple months. It's kind of overwhelming when I think about it. I mean, to be able to get our name out there, to go on this live event. And, we've been told that like partnerships like we sign, like people pay $100,000 to be the partner we are in these companies. And they asked us to ride this ride with them, It's going to take a lot of work, probably more work than I've done in 10 years, because our life has kind of been under control on cruise control for a while. But I'm really excited about it. One, I'm excited to get out on the road and meet our people. Like I can't wait to send the first email, like June 16th, we're going to be in Tampa, meet up, Flip Lifestyle lobby, right? Let's go, man. Let's like meet, hug, and hang out with our people in person.
Yeah.
Which was kind of the dream for Flip Your Life Live when you came to our live event. That was amazing. But now we're just going to be able to do it on a scale that we could have never done on our own. So
it's so exciting. Fun. So get on Shane's list so that you'll know when they're going to be there and you can go hang out with them. And believe me, they are worth hanging out with. Okay. So then how can people get in touch with you? What's the best way for people to find out more and connect with you?
The best thing to do is to go to, listen to our podcast. Whatever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. I have two shows. One is called the Flipped Lifestyle Podcast. I actually talk to our members and give them a coaching call on air, which I think you do too, right? You do that too, right? Mm-hmm. You talk to people. Yep. So it's similar format to Nikki's show. And we're just there to help people. And then we let everybody listen so they can learn too.
Yeah.
And then I have another podcast called the Shane Sam Show, which Nikki's been a guest on, and it should be out hopefully very, very soon. And but I interview experts, authors, entrepreneurs, trying to figure out, I'm trying to learn and just see what's going on with successful people so that everybody can get that. And if anybody would like to try out our program, we help people start, build, and grow membership sites. All you have to do is go to flippedlifestyle.com/Maven. And we've got a 30-day free for everybody that listens to the Sales Maven podcast with Nikki Rauch. And that gives you unlimited access to everything we have. All of our courses, you get 2 member calls with me where I answer questions and ask questions 24 hours a day a week in our forums, and a team in there. And if we can help you start a business, we'd love to do that. So head over there, fliplifestyle.com/Maven. We would love to help you inside.
And that'll be in the show notes as well. I have been a client of Shane and Jocelyn's for a while. I've been in their community actually for years. I think you're my longest, the person I've coached with the longest, because I get massive.
That makes me feel really good.
I get massive value.
I know you don't mess around, and you're like, if you've stayed with us long enough, that makes me happy. So. Yeah, it's been a couple years. It really is. Oh, easy.
Yeah,
I mean, at least since before 2018.
2018,
something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been amazing. And
we're gonna be like common law cousins pretty soon. We've been together so long. We've known each other so long.
Perfect. I always joke with you that my CFO used to always question me about like, are you getting value out of this money that you're investing in all this, professional development? And I'm like, that's for Shane and Jocelyn. And now at this point, she's always like, is that Shane and Jocelyn money? And I'm like, yes. And then we just move on. It's not even a part of the conversation.
Angela, our podcast is always playing in their house because she's always working with stuff, and she lives with like her brother or something, and her family's always around and she's like, now she goes, it's weird. It's like now people, whenever they have any questions, they're just like, what do you think Shane and Jocelyn would do? It's like, should I buy this car? Should we rent this house? Like it's like we just get in your brain and we worm our way in. So.
Totally. All right. Well, thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for listening, everybody, and watch for the next Mastering Excellence series. First one with Shane Sams. Couldn't have beat it. This was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Sales Maven. Visit us online at yoursalesmaven.com/Maven for more resources to boost your confidence and skills.